am Ekta. Have you ever noticed the different angles around you, such as the shape of a pizza slice or the position of the hands on a clock? Angles play a significant role in our everyday lives, and understanding them helps us navigate the world better. In this lesson, we will dive into the fascinating world of lines and angles. We will explore different types of angles and their properties and learn how they relate to real life scenarios. Let's unlock the secrets of angles and discover how they shape our world. In this lesson, we will learn about lines and angles, their definitions and the properties associated with them. We will explore different types of angles such as acute, obtuse, right, straight, and reflex angles and understand their characteristics. Additionally, we will discover how angles are formed by intersecting lines and the rules that govern their measurements. By the end of the lesson, you will be able to identify and classify angles, measure their sizes, and apply this knowledge to real-world situations. Learning outcomes. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify and classify different types of lines and angles. Understand the concept of complementary angles, supplementary angles, and vertical angles. Recognize and apply the properties of adjacent angles and vertical angles. Identify and determine the relationship between angles formed by intersecting lines, parallel lines, and a transversal. Keywords: lines, angles, transversal, acute angle, obtuse angle, right angle, straight angle. Complementary angles, supplementary angles, vertical angles, adjacent angles. Children, let us see what is definition of lines and angles. The concept of lines was introduced by ancient mathematicians to represent straight objects that did not have any width or depth. While lines are simpler to understand, an angle is a shape that is formed by the intersection of two line segments, lines or rays. When two rays intersect each other in the same plane, they form an angle. Lines. A line is one-dimensional figure that extends in both directions infinitely without any width. It is made up of an infinite number of points close to each other. Euclid denotes the line as a breadth less length. In a Cartesian plane, it is denoted by the linear equation ax plus by is equal to c. Observe the line shown in the figure. Rays. Rays are lines with one end as the start point and the other end going to infinity. They extend in one direction without ending. When two rays are joined end to end, they form an angle. They are represented as PQ. Line segment. When a line has two endpoints, it is known as a line segment. The length of a line segment can be measured and it is written as AB. Angles. When two rays intersect at a point, they form an angle. Angles are usually measured in degrees. An angle can have a value between 0 degree to 360 degree and it is denoted by the symbol. Observe the following figure which shows angle ABC. Types of lines. Lines can be classified into different types depending on their properties. Let us see the different types of lines. Horizontal line. These lines are parallel to the x-axis and perpendicular to the y-axis. Vertical line. These lines are parallel to the y-axis and perpendicular to the x-axis. Parallel lines. When two straight lines move alongside and maintain a constant distance between each other up to infinity, they are known as parallel lines. The symbol is used to represent parallel lines. Perpendicular lines. When two lines intersect each other at an angle of 90 degree, they are known as perpendicular lines. Transversal line. When a line intersects two lines at different respective points, then it is known as transversal line. Types of angles. The table given below shows the different types of angles that are categorized based on their measurements. Angles can be categorized into different types based on their measurements. Angles are generally of 6 types. Acute angle. If the measure of an angle is less than 90 degree, then it is known as an acute angle. Here angle ABC is equal to 40 degree less than 90 degree. Right angle. If the measure of an angle is exactly equal to 90 degree, then it is known as a right angle. Here angle ABC is equal to 90 degree. Obtuse angle. If the measure of an angle is greater than 90 degree but less than 180 degree, then it is known as an obtuse angle. Here 90 degree less than angle ABC is equal to 117 degree less than 180 degree. Straight angle. If the measure of an angle is 180 degree, then it is known as a straight angle. Here angle AOB is equal to 180 degree. Reflex angle. If the measure of an angle is greater than 180 degree but less than 360 degree, then it is known as a reflex angle. Here 180 degree less than reflex angle is equal to 330 degree less than 360 degree. Complete angle. If the measure of an angle is 360 degree, then it is known as a complete angle. Complementary angles. When the sum of two angles is 90 degree, then the angles are known as complementary angles. In other words, if two angles add up to form a right angle, then these angles are referred to as a complementary angles. Here we say that the two angles complement each other. In the above figure, the measure of an angle BOD is 60 degree and angle AOD measure 30 degree. By adding both of these angles, we get a right angle. Therefore, angle BOD and angle AOD are complementary angles. The following angles in the given below images are complementary to each other as the measure of the sum of both angles is 90 degree. Angle POQ and angle ABC are complementary and are called complements of each other. Supplementary angles. When the sum of two angles is 180 degree, then the angles are known as supplementary angles. In other words, if two angles add up to form a straight angle, then those angles are referred to as supplementary angles. In the given figure, the measure of angle AOC is 60 degree and angle AOB measure 120 degree. By adding both of these angles, we get a straight angle. Therefore, angle AOC and angle AOB are supplementary angles and both of these angles are known as supplement to each other. Adjacent angles. What are adjacent angles? Two angles are said to be adjacent angles if they share a common vertex, a common side, and they do not overlap. Observe the following figure to understand what adjacent angles look like. Angles 1 and 2 are adjacent because they have a common side BD and a common vertex B. The properties of adjacent angles given below help us identify them easily. Adjacent angles always share a common arm. They share a common vertex. They do not overlap. They have a non-common arm on both sides of the common arm. Two adjacent angles can be supplementary or complementary based on the sum of the measure of the individual angles. Vertical angles. What are vertical angles? When two lines intersect, four angles are formed. There are two pairs of non-adjacent angles. These pairs are called vertical angles. In the image given below, angle 1, angle 3 and angle 2 Angle 4 are two vertical angle pairs. Vertical angles are a pair of non-adjacent angles formed by the intersection of two straight lines. In simple words, vertical angles are located across from one another in the corners of the x formed by two straight lines. They are also called vertically opposite angles as they are situated opposite to each other. Important notes: vertical angles are always equal. Vertical angles can be supplementary as well as complementary. Vertical angles are always non-adjacent. Angles formed by intersecting lines, parallel lines and transversal. When two lines intersect, they form several angles at the intersection point. The main types of angles formed by intersecting lines are vertical angles. These are pairs of angles that are opposite to each other and have equal measures. Vertical angles are formed when two lines intersect and are characterized by their symmetry. Adjacent angles. These are angles that share a common vertex and a common side. Adjacent angles are side by side and do not overlap. When dealing with parallel lines and a transversal, additional angle relationship arise. Corresponding angles. These angles are located in the same position in relation to the transversal and the parallel lines. Corresponding angles have equal measures when the lines being intersected are parallel. Alternate interior angles. These angles are located on opposite sides of the transversal. Between the parallel lines, alternate interior angles have equal measures when the lines being intersected are parallel. Alternate exterior angles. These angles are located on opposite sides of the transversal outside the parallel lines. Alternate exterior angles have equal measures when the lines being intersected are parallel. Points to remember. Lines have no width or depth, while angles are formed by the intersection of two lines or rays. Types of lines include horizontal, vertical, parallel, perpendicular and transversal lines. Types of angles include acute, obtuse, right, straight, reflex and complete angles. Complementary angles sum up to 90 degree while supplementary angles sum up to 180 degree. Vertical angles are always equal and adjacent angles share a common vertex and side. Corresponding angles, alternate interior angles and alternate exterior angles are formed when parallel lines are intersected by a transversal.